It was a dark and stormy night, and Emily was driving alone on a deserted road in the middle of nowhere. She was on her way to visit her aunt, who lived in a small village on the other side of the woods. The rain was pouring down heavily, and Emily's windshield wipers were struggling to keep up. As Emily drove further into the woods, the road became narrower and more treacherous. She felt her car struggling to keep up, and her heart started racing with fear. Suddenly, her headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road. Emily hit the brakes, and her car screeched to a halt just inches away from the figure. It was a woman dressed in a long, tattered white dress, her hair matted and unkempt. Emily tried to ask if she needed help, but the woman just stared at her with cold, lifeless eyes. Emily's heart was racing, and she knew she had to get out of there. But before she could start the car, the woman disappeared into the woods. Emily was relieved, thinking that it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. As she drove further into the woods, the rain started to ease up, and Emily began to relax. But then she heard a scratching sound coming from the trunk of her car. She pulled over to investigate, and as she opened the trunk, she was greeted by the sight of the woman from the road, lying lifeless inside. Emily screamed in terror and ran back to her car, but as she turned the key in the ignition, she realized that her car had been sabotaged. The lights went out, and the car stalled. Suddenly, Emily felt a cold hand grab her from behind, and she knew she was not alone. She turned around to see the woman standing in front of her, her eyes now glowing with an otherworldly light. Emily tried to run, but the woman was too quick. She grabbed Emily by the hair and dragged her back into the woods. As Emily struggled to break free, she saw that the woman was not alone. There were dozens of them, all dressed in tattered white dresses, all with glowing eyes. They were the spirits of the women who had been murdered in those woods over the years, seeking revenge on anyone who dared to enter their domain. Emily tried to scream, but the sound was drowned out by the chorus of laughter and moans that surrounded her. She knew that she was doomed to join them, to become another ghostly figure haunting those cursed woods forevermore.